Hey all, and welcome back to Pokémon Colosseum. It's time for some post-game antics. So Flame, what is on the agenda this week, my fam?
Well, the post-game, the way it works, it starts off looking like a bit of a wild goose chase, really, because the post-game structure is pretty much, you get an email, it directs you somewhere, you show up there, get another email, go somewhere else. That's kind of how it's going to lead you along here. But to start with, well, the best way to put it really is the post-game is a clean-up of all the shadow Pokemon that we haven't got so far, because they do save some to be exclusive in the post-game, so there's going to be getting the other Johto starters, which are going to be our priority to start with, and then go and get some odd scraps that are spread around the world.
Well, I pretty much blew my load in regards to Bulbapedia and reading shit out last time, so we're just going to keep it chill for the post-game. Let's actually talk about something Pokemon related. There was like some rumours and whatnot of there being master trainers in Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, and they did the official reveal today. It's basically there are 150 master trainers in those games, and they each specialize in a single type of Pokemon. So there's a Master Metapod trainer, there's a Master Ditto trainer, I would assume there's a Master Mewtwo trainer as well, and if you beat them, you get their title, and Nurse Joy will say, hey, Pokemon Master whatever, da-da-da-da-da-da. Strikes me as a bit of a slog, really. You don't have to fight all of them. Like, how would a Ditto v Ditto battle even work, for example? You'd have to basically struggle each other to death, just like Helldragon did back in the ye old days with his Blastoise and whatnot. But, yeah, I don't know. I might not actually pick up, like, Let's Go Pikachu right away, even if I do like the look of that really sweet Pokeball controller. I'm a sucker for shitty gimmicks like that.
Well, I'll probably pick up the standard version of the game. I'm not one for paying extra for gimmicky shit like you are, so, you know, take that how you will. Although, like, the whole thing with the Master Trainer things, I admit I haven't watched the trailer, I've just kind of pieced stuff together going by tweets I've seen. But, like, what a fucking title it must be with certain Pokemon. Like, well done, you're the Master of Muck. Could you stay a safe distance from me, please?
Oh my god.
Sort of
thing. Did anyone ever, like, come to the conclusion that Muck backwards is Clum? Because I think we're the first.
Holy shit!
Alright, what's this Lado got for us here? He's got a Gardevoir, and I think I might be drunk, because I'm saying names wrong. And a, what is that, Granbull, who's now part Fairy type?
Yes, that's him. This is a rematch. If you missed the Furret here earlier in the game, then it will still be here at level 33, while the rest of your Pokemon are touching 50. So good luck trying to snag that.
The levels here kind of remind me a little bit of Johto, honestly, in the way they had to scale everything to make sure you weren't like level 60 for the Johto Pokemon League. I know people don't like Johto for like its easy difficulty, but I did. It was a very comfy generation. I don't care if that's a buzzword.
Well, see, like, I would sort of make the jab about you being a casual, but my favourite generation is 6, so I have no leg to stand on there.
Exactly. Like, no, you don't.
Like, they give you, like, 3 Pokemon off the bat, and by the time you get to any gym, you're, like, 10 levels above them because of how the XP share works. Like, yeah, that's good balance in there, guys.
I mean, I have to agree with you, Tom. I think that ultimately Gen 2 is still my favourite gen, and yes, it does have that easy difficulty curve, but I think it works because you have that whole sort of journey, and then all of a sudden you realise, oh, I can go to Kanto, and then just the whole world opens up in front of you. It's probably one of the most impressive post games that I think Pokemon has ever done, which is ultimately why so many people have pretty much ever since Johto wanted there to be another region as post-game in a Pokemon game. Like, there's still to this day clamouring for like an all-region Pokemon game, which I think is maybe being a little bit excessive.
A little bit.
But the idea of it is appealing, and I could totally see why people want that, but I think sort of, you know, the whole 2 regions is probably about the limit.
Yeah. Alright guys, let's put our cards on the table here. We've put it off long enough. Flame, give me your rankings for each generation thus far.
6, 2, that's very close. Like, they're my 2 favourites. Like,
okay.
lean a bit more towards 6 from having replayed it recently, but they're both bloody good. I think, say, probably 1 and 3 are about tied underneath as well. Like, 1, despite all its flaws, I guess it's just one of them things that the game's so ingrained in my mind now, I can recall basically everything from memory. And, like, yeah, I've got a soft spot for it despite all the quirks. And 3, that's like the generation when I was most into Pokemon, and so I've got that personal connection with it, as well as like the quirky little spin-offs like Colosseum and XD that I love as well. I think after that, possibly 7, then 5, then 4.
Well, I think if there's going to be a running trend here, 4 may be near the bottom, but Richie, I'm having a run-up on this one, so what are your rankings for the generations of Pokemon?
I mean, it might not be entirely what I truly think, because I'm sort of just doing this on the fly, because it's not something that I really do that often. So, 2's on top. Then I would probably say 8, 5,
8.
1, 3, 6, 4.
Richie, what the fuck is Generation 8, mate?
I have no idea at this point in time. Like, I'm just going, how many generations are we on? Are we in right now?
Mean 7.
I think I do mean 7. I thought Sun and Moon was Generation 8. Honestly, I've lost track of how many generations of Pokemon we're in. Largely also because you've got the whole thing of, like, Fire Red and Leaf Green is a Gen 1 game in Gen 3, and Soul Silver and Heart Gold are Gen 2 games in Gen 4, and so on and so forth. And it's just like, I don't even care anymore which generation we're in.
Well, alright then, can we get the proper list from you then, please?
Okay, so 2, 5, 7, 1, 3, 4. Has that covered all of them?
I'm kind of concerned that the smart one among us can't count to 7. That's
Seriously,
kind of a worrying
even I'm
idea.
better than that, and since you missed out Gen 6, I'll just put it at the bottom. Alright, nice and
Oh no,
simple,
Gen 6
lads.
isn't bottom, Gen 6 is sort of somewhere in the middle.
For fuck's sake, Richie, I asked you to count from 1 to 7 and you still couldn't do it.
You're asking me to count 1 to 7 in completely sort of different order to 1 to 7. My brain just is going, I'd need to write it down.
Okay, Tom, let's see your fucking list. See if this
Alright,
works any
let's
better.
do this shit then. Alright, we got Generation 2, my main man, at number 1. Then we've got Gen 3. I've come to love Hoenn and Ruby Sapphire Emerald in recent years. And like Flame says, an abundance of spin-offs and whatnot released throughout this period. Then I would probably say Gen 5, because while I don't think I've finished Black 2 and White 2 are probably some of the best games in the entire franchise. Like, I can't overrate them enough, as it were. I can't overstate how good those games are. So 2, 3, 5. Then probably 7, because I really like Sun and Moon, but also Sun and Moon, despite some of like the stuff they added, it kind of took away from the experience. Otherwise that would be higher. So 2, 3, 5, 7. Then I would probably say 1, just for nostalgia. Then we have Gen 6, then we have Gen 4, because Heart Gold and Soul Silver aside, I'm just not a fan of those, and I think I enjoy the region of Kalos more than I do Sinnoh, so...
Yeah.
See, Richie? That's how you count. That's how you count from 1 to 7 and order them correctly.
I mean, yes, this is true, but also, as I said, I don't tend to list things, and also when I'm listing in numbers, and I'm going like number 1, number 5, number 2, my brain just is just like, nope. And also, to be fair, I am knackered, because I was at work until like 10:15 last night, so that was fun.
Alright, the excuses begin already, but what can we expect from the Snagem Hideout, mate? It is located in a part of ore known as Eclo Canyon, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know if that's mentioned in game. It might be on the little flavour text screen on the map. I don't know. I don't think I've spent long enough reading it. But basically, the way the Snagem lair works is if you've missed a random shadow Pokemon from like one of the random assaulted NPCs that aren't like plot important, chances are they'll show up here somewhere. It's like one of the deals that if you leave and come back, there'll be someone else standing there. Right now, I'm fighting Scrub. I don't know if he's the first one to show up or not, because I did have to go back through this lair a few times to get a good rundown. So, you know, like, when you've got random elements recording a playthrough, sometimes it gets a bit confusing. But, you know.
Let's see. The trainers encountered here may have shadow Pokemon if the player failed to catch one. The 6 Cypher Peons will stop appearing once their shadow Pokemon have been snagged and they have all been beaten at least once. Scrub here has Huntail, Wobbuffet, Medicham and Golem. Very nice team. We could also fight Nor, Cloak, Baylor, Arton, Diog, and then we've got like some random trainers and whatnot.
Yeah, so it's pretty much, if you've missed a shadow Pokemon, this is your clean-up spot for the most part. There are some that still appear either in their original locations or somewhere else instead, but for the most part, your random trainers will just loiter here for some reason.
Maybe they like the aesthetic. I'm a big fan of like run-down or ruined buildings and whatnot. Not enough to actually want to go and explore them. There's YouTube videos for that.
Yeah, like, you can explore them from the safety of your own home, it's fine. And yeah, I am kind of making a habit of using this guy's own Hitmontop against him. It's just so satisfying for some reason.
Well, of course.
What's better than, you know, driving your enemies before you with their own Pokemon? I love it.
A slightly morbid way of doing it, just rubbing salt in the wound, but hey, fuck it, I'm not exactly a nice person.
Another email on the Padur. Let's see what it says.
Oh, we're getting lists of shadow Pokemon that we've already caught. Thanks, Nat. You're really helping out.
Jesus.
I don't know why he does this. I think we'll get another email like it later. Eventually, he does start tipping you off about shadows that you haven't encountered yet. But for now, it's just like, yeah, I've sort of been scanning your PC box. Here's some redundant information.
Now, I'd like if you got an email 2 seconds later. Whoops, please disregard the previous email. I see you've got the Tyranitar, etc.
Yeah. Oh, look, there's a Shadow Mewtwo. Oh, wait, fuck, never mind. I've decided to Snopes this shit. But yeah, I don't think your first time around coming to the Snagem lair that the Snagem members actually have Shadow Pokemon. Some of them will when we come back here later.
Yes, I believe you are correct. From what I just had a brief look at the Bulbapedia page. Basically, there are 2 specific trainers which will have Shadow Pokemon, but I don't believe that they show up until after you've received the email saying that those Shadow Pokemon exist.
Right.
So, theoretically, actually, one of them could show up in this trip, because Shadow Smeargle was mentioned. But I don't believe we've had the other Shadow Pokemon revealed.
Well, either way, I won't be getting the Smeargle and the other Pokemon until, like, we come back here, just so I can get them both in one proper run, you know?
Okay. I'm just looking at the team list here. The guy you get the Smeargle from has, like, 3 Smeargles after that. What is the point?
He just likes his artwork, okay? Don't judge his taste.
I guess so.
I mean, the reason ultimately for that is because each of the Smeargles will, I believe, have different movesets, because that is ultimately the quirk of Smeargle, is that it can sketch any move and therefore add it to its moveset. Once you've got the 4 moves filled out, it can't learn any more. And so it's a way of learning some quite powerful moves, so like moves that are, I believe, even exclusive to specific Pokemon. It can use Sketch and learn them. I believe that's how it works. I could be slightly wrong, but I'm pretty sure that is the way it rolls. So you could have a Smeargle with some truly incredible moves. It's not necessarily going to get the most use out of them, because the Smeargle at the end of the day is not the best Pokemon in the world, apart from maybe in its health, maybe its defense. I can't remember which one it is better in. But I know that its attack and sort of special attack are not the best thing in the world.
If I was a Smeargle, I'd Sketch Explosion, and then just say goodbye to this cruel world.
Tom, do you need to talk? Oh god. Wasn't there that one island leader or someone in Sun and Moon that had a pretty powerful Smeargle though?
Yes!
Yeah, the very first one actually. What the hell was his name?
I don't know, he was the guy with the pinky purpley hair, wasn't he?
Yeah, the pink hair. I'm looking this up. Sun and Moon leaders. I will find it before you, Richie.
It's a race, you better get the information quick.
Ilmer. There we go.
Yes.
That's the guy, yeah. Because he had that, what else did he have? Was it just a Smeargle?
Well, I think the first time you fight him, he has a Smeargle and a Yungoos.
Oh, right, yeah, that Pokemon.
I know you weren't paying attention a lot during Sun and Moon, mate, but could you put a little bit of effort in, please?
Yeah, I know.
The cutscenes are too frequent. I don't like story in my game, despite the fact I like Colosseum, one of the most heavily story-based games in the series.
My contention with Sun and Moon wasn't the story. My contention with Sun and Moon was the first, 7 hours of it is just tutorial shit. It's very... it feels like it's just walking you through it point by point. It just feels very slow right at the start, and that puts me off playing through it.
I mean, you've got a point, but I'm not going to acknowledge it.
I like the story later on. Granted, they neutered it a bit in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, but...
Yeah, they definitely did, yeah.
I think that the problem that Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon had was that it was ultimately too similar to the original Sun and Moon. Had it just been that story that we'd seen from the off, albeit with sort of alterations, I think that it wouldn't have been as poorly received, largely because there wouldn't have been that immediate point of comparison.
Yeah.
I was going, well, I like that bit and I like that bit from different ones. It's the reason why Black 2 and White 2 succeeded in being a sequel, because it was a true sequel. It was a completely new story. So even though they were linked together, they didn't overlap, they didn't tell the same thing, so it didn't feel repetitive. Whereas Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon were effectively the remakes without really being that kind of full of a remake. So Emerald is an example, Emerald, Platinum, etc. are the types of games where they did add other stuff. They changed up the story enough, that people were able to they were able to be okay with it. But even then, I think the stories were too similar. So Black 2, White 2 really should be the, I would say, template for where they should go should they decide to do that sort of thing again. Just because you're then not going to judge any sort of story changes to the sequel as harshly, because you're not going, well, I've just played this game already.
Well, I don't think you'll have to worry about anything as extensive as, the Battle Frontier and so on, because if Masuda has his way, you will never get it again.
Oh God, these interviews that have come out, especially didn't he make some comment that made no sense about how in the older games, if you overwrote surfing, you'll get stuck on an island, and dude, have you even played your own fucking game? That's not how it works.
Yeah, you can't. That's literally how HMs work, my friend.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you're just you are an amazing game developer, you've done amazing work, but you may be losing the plot a little bit.
Yeah, and can I just say, Masuda, before he became the game's director and whatnot, handled the music of the series.
Yes.
I don't think he's specifically trained to... Nice costume, by the way. Is this one of the guys who gives the Johto starters?
Yeah, this is him. This is who we came into this area for.
Nice. Bluno, of course. My parents are cruel. They named me after their favourite colour. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, I don't think Masuda really knows what he's doing. And I hate to be that critical, but, I think I like Sun and Moon more than I probably should. And I'm not, saying that to, make this opinion of Masuda more appropriate, I guess, but I feel I could see Flame's point at last.
I think what's happening is that he's maybe trying to follow modern trends without properly understanding them. Because, in general, I know it's one of the criticisms a lot of people bring to the table with various levels of, substantiation behind them, but, the idea of games becoming more casual and more casual-friendly and things like that. But he's not really realising that Pokemon is already incredibly accessible to basically anyone who has a passing interest in RPGs. Yeah. So it's not really the sort of thing that needs more casualisation. I kind of get it to a certain degree of, they're using this as a gateway game between like the Go crowd and trying to bring them into the main series, and that to a certain degree I kind of get. Of these people they're trying to appeal to people who normally just tap away at their mobile phone on the bus and that. They're not really trying to go to people who have shown interesting RPGs up to this point.
Yes.
But I feel like there's a limit, and the bit that really sticks out to me, there's this one screen cap that we saw of the first gym in the game for like the Let's Go games, and that's where it's shown that you have to have either a grass or water type Pokemon to go and fight the gym, and that's the sort of thing that I understand telling you the type weaknesses. That is fair enough. That is the sort of thing that makes it casual and accessible to people who aren't as invested in the series up to this point. But it's the line in the sand for me really is forcing you to have one.
Yeah.
Because that takes away from the Pokemon series, like, its main selling point really, the flexibility of that there's like these so many hundreds of possible player characters. It's kind of taking that away from you, and it's forcing you to be casual rather than just making it friendly to casuals.
Yeah.
It's kind of awkward to explain, but yeah.
It's like at that point, why even have options at all? Why don't you just put the thing in my party and just play the game for me?
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, that is a slippery slope of an argument, but it does lead there. It sort of sets itself up to be that slippery slope. I would say sort of the biggest problem with the saying you must have a water or grass type is that from Fire Red Leaf Green, they actually sort of fixed Gen 1 because Charmander could learn Metal Claw, and therefore you no longer needed a water or grass type to beat Brock, because Metal Claw was super effective against rock types, and therefore you could do it with a Charmander. It was more challenging, obviously, because Charmander was weak to the attacks, but you could still do it. And so I feel that's a bit of an issue. I think ultimately it's one of those things that seems to happen with some developers. Miyamoto is a sort of prime example. Amazing guy, has done amazing work, still does amazing work, but I think some of his more recent decisions have been somewhat questionable, and part of that might be because he's in a position of power where people don't necessarily feel as though they can say, I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same argument that has been thrown at the likes of George Lucas with the prequel trilogy of Star Wars, of too many, like, people saw him as knowing everything to do with Star Wars, he knew what he was doing, and perhaps if they didn't necessarily agree with the decision, they maybe didn't raise it because they felt that they couldn't. That's not saying that that's what actually happened, but that's what I know the general perception is. And it feels like that has happened with Miyamoto, and it feels like that's potentially what might be happening with Masuda right now. And it's not great, but it can be a thing.
Let me read this quote for you. Rather than any actual feedback from players, is more accepting the realities of modern life. Kids these days, or even people who grew up playing Pokemon, everyone is a lot more busy. There are a lot more things competing for a person's time than there were back then, which is actually very true, but then you take into account that the Master Trainers and Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee are about like level 70 plus, so you have to grind to that level, and let me just say, it's not like, you can get extra EXP just like that. You may have to trade or something, or, use vitamins and so on to buff your Pokemon, which is fine, but that directly contradicts the thing about people having less time.
Yeah, and that's the sort of thing that, like, if you're designing a mobile game, or even, like, a typical casual handheld sort of thing, like, I get the logic of you want it to be accessible for short play periods, but there is still an audience for people who want to just sit down and play an RPG and sink themselves into it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if your product is strong enough, then people will be willing to invest their free time in it, the same way that they would with all this other stuff. You just got a bit more competition, but it's fine. There are still fans of traditional Pokemon.
Yeah, I think ultimately what we can probably go away with is we can let Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee slide. When they come out, they might be still really fun games. They might do an excellent job, despite our issues with them in terms of oversimplifying some of the core elements of the Pokemon franchise.
Yeah.
If, however, when we come to the next set of Pokemon games, the same level of casualness putting massive air quotation marks is there in the sense of oversimplification of some of the core gameplay elements of Pokemon are not there, then there is perhaps more of a reason to criticise if they're not well received from Let's Go.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter if they're well received or not. It's going to sell gangbusters simply due to the fact that it's Pokemon. Like, he was even talking about, like, oh, if it's well received, you could get more Let's Go games.
Yeah, like, that's the sort of thing that also harms it, as well as the fact that the developers are at such a status that people don't question it. It's like, you know, if we as nerds on the internet who spend way too much time looking at stuff aren't happy with it, we're not really that important in the grand scheme of things. As
yeah, exactly.
Not really, no.
Kids will buy anything, and people have become invested in Pokemon Go will buy anything. That's how, like, a lot of these shitty, you know, industry plagues, you know, the microtransactions, all that sort of stuff, they get away with it. No matter how much we bitch and whine about it because it's shitty, there's enough kids to buy it to justify them doing it from a business perspective, and that's kind of why certain things are going downhill now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a potentially dangerous situation, but we can but see. And fingers crossed it'll go the way that we personally would prefer it to go, but obviously, should it not, we'll just have to live with it, really, because it's business.
It really is, man.
I hate having to think like that, but you do have a point.
God damn it, why do we have to be adults? Me wanting good Pokemon games!
I can outchild the children, it's fine.
That is truly the adult fan's power. We'll see you next time for more of the Pokemon Colosseum post-game, y'all.